What happens when two of television's most beloved personalities turn a light-hearted interview into the most explosive moment in late-night history? The Tonight Show stage, usually filled with laughter and applause, became ground zero for a confrontation that would end a legendary career and leave millions of viewers stunned. This isn't about a publicity stunt or a scripted bit gone wrong. This is about what really happened when Kelly Clarkson sat down across from Jimmy Fallon, and a simple question sparked a chain reaction nobody saw coming. Before we dive into the details of this shocking moment, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and drop a comment below telling me which late-night host you think handled controversy the best. Now, let's get into exactly what went down. The studio audience was electric that evening, packed with fans who'd waited months for tickets. Kelly Clarkson walked onto the Tonight Show set with her signature warmth, waving to the crowd as they erupted in cheers. She'd been on the show dozens of times before, and her chemistry with Jimmy had always been effortless. They hugged, she took her seat, and Jimmy launched into his usual banter. "Kelly Clarkson, everybody," Jimmy said, gesturing to the audience for more applause. "You look amazing. How are you? What's going on?" "I'm good." "I'm great, actually," Kelly responded, settling into the guest chair. "Busy as always, but I can't complain." "Busy is an understatement," Jimmy said, leaning forward. "You've got your talk show. You're still making music. You're everywhere. How do you do it all?" Kelly laughed. "Coffee, lots of coffee, and a really good team around me." The conversation flowed easily through the usual topics. They discussed her latest album, her kids, funny moments from her own talk show. The audience was eating it up, laughing at all the right moments. Everything seemed perfectly normal, exactly what viewers had come to expect from both of them. But then Jimmy shifted gears. "So, want to ask you about something," Jimmy said, his tone changing slightly. "There's been a lot of talk lately about daytime versus late night. You know, the whole landscape of talk shows. Your show has been doing incredibly well." "Thank you," Kelly said, smiling, but looking slightly confused about where this was going. "No, I mean really well," Jimmy continued. "And I've been reading some articles, some comparisons being made. Do you pay attention to that stuff? The ratings, the competition aspect of it all." Kelly shifted in her seat. "I try not to, honestly. I just focus on doing the best show I can and connecting with my audience." Right, Jimmy nodded. "But you must see it sometimes. The headlines? Kelly Clarkson's show beats out this person, beats out that person." The audience started to sense something was off. The energy in the room changed subtly. Kelly's smile became more fixed. "I guess I see it occasionally," she said carefully. "But I don't think of it as beating anyone. There's room for all of us." "Sure, of course," Jimmy said, but there was an edge to his voice now. "But let's be real for a second. Your show is in the daytime slot. Different audience, different format. It's not really the same thing as late night, is it?" Kelly blinked. "I'm sorry. What do you mean?" "I just mean," Jimmy said, spreading his hands, "late night has a tradition, a legacy. Carson, Letterman, Leno. It's a different beast. Daytime talk is more, casual, lighter." The audience went quiet. You could hear people shifting in their seats. Kelly sat up straighter. "Lighter," she repeated. "Yeah," Jimmy said. "Like you do the feel-good stories, the cooking segments, the makeovers. Which is great. People love that. But late night is about the interviews, the political commentary, the edge. It's a different skill set." Kelly's expression hardened. "Jimmy, are you seriously suggesting that what I do is somehow less than what you do?" No. I'm not saying less." Jimmy backtracked, but he kept going. "I'm saying different. You found your lane, and that's awesome." "My lane," Kelly said slowly. "Okay, so your lane is the important one, and my lane is what? The fluffy one? That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said, Kelly shot back. You just called my show casual and light, implying that yours is serious and substantial. Jimmy laughed nervously, looking to the audience for support, but they were silent. Kelly, come on. Don't twist my words. I'm complimenting your success. That wasn't a compliment, Kelly said firmly. That was you trying to diminish what I built. And honestly, I'm shocked. I thought we were friends. We are friends, Jimmy insisted. This is just a conversation. No, this is you feeling threatened, Kelly said. The audience gasped. My show is succeeding. And instead of being happy for me, you're trying to put me in a box. The daytime box. The safe box. The less important box. Jimmy's face flushed. I am not threatened by you, Kelly. Then why are we having this conversation? Kelly asked. Why did you feel the need to make that distinction? Late night versus daytime. Your tradition and legacy versus my casual little show. Because it matters, Jimmy said, his voice rising. Late night has always been where the real conversation happens. Where culture gets shaped. Your show is great for what it is, but let's not pretend it's the same thing. The audience was fully engaged, now some murmuring, others leaning forward. Kelly stared at Jimmy for a long moment. For what it is, she repeated. You know what, Jimmy? Let me tell you what my show is. It's me getting up every single day and working my ass off to create something meaningful. It's me interviewing everyone from musicians to politicians to everyday people with incredible stories. It's me being vulnerable and real and honest with my audience. Asterisk, and yes, sometimes we cook. Sometimes we do makeovers. Sometimes we cry together because that's life. That's connection. That's what people actually want. I'm not saying you don't work hard, Jimmy said. Yes, you are, Kelly interrupted. You're saying that your work is more important because you do it at 11:30 at night, instead of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're saying that your format is superior because it has some imaginary legacy attached to it. But here's what you're missing. That legacy, it's changing. People don't care about the time slot anymore. They care about authenticity. They care about hosts who don't talk down to them or to their guests. Jimmy's jaw clenched. I have never talked down to anyone. You're doing it right now, Kelly said. To me, on your show, in front of all these people. Kelly, I think you're overreacting, and I think you're deflecting. Kelly fired back. You started this conversation. You brought up the comparisons, the competition. Why? What were you hoping to accomplish? Jimmy hesitated. And in that hesitation, something shifted. The confidence he'd started with was crumbling. I was just making conversation, he said weakly. No, you were trying to establish a hierarchy, Kelly said, with you at the top. And maybe that worked in the past. Maybe that's how this world operated, but not anymore. Not with me. The tension was suffocating. The Roots' Jimmy's house band sat frozen. The cameras kept rolling. And the audience watched as one of late night's biggest stars found himself cornered by a guest who refused to play along. I don't know what you want me to say, Jimmy finally said. I want you to acknowledge what you did, Kelly responded. I want you to admit that you disrespected me and my work. Say it, Jimmy. The standoff continued, neither willing to back down as the audience held its collective breath. What started as a routine interview had transformed into something unprecedented. And everyone in that studio knew they were witnessing something that would reverberate far beyond that night. The question wasn't whether this would blow up. It was how big the explosion would be. Jimmy looked out at the audience, then back at Kelly. His expression caught somewhere between anger and panic. The silence stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Fine, Jimmy said, his voice tight. Maybe I could have phrased things differently. Is that what you want to hear? That's not an apology, Kelly said flatly. That's you trying to end this conversation without actually taking responsibility. What do you want from me, Kelly? Jimmy asked, frustration bleeding through. You want me to grovel on my own show? I want you to be honest, Kelly said. With me, with yourself, with all these people watching. Do you think what I do is less valuable than what you do? Yes or no? Jimmy opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. I think we do different things. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Kelly shook her head slowly. You know what the saddest part of this is? I used to admire you. I used to think you were one of the good ones. Someone who lifted people up instead of tearing them down. But this is just insecurity dressed up as banter. Insecurity. Jimmy repeated, his voice hardening. You think I'm insecure? I've been doing this for over a decade. I've interviewed presidents, movie stars, musicians. I've built this show into something special. So, no, Kelly, I'm not insecure. I'm just calling it like I see it. And how do you see it? Kelly challenged. I see someone who got lucky with a daytime slot and is now acting like they revolutionized television. Jimmy said, and the audience gasped again. You've been doing your show for what? A few years? And you're already acting like you're some kind of authority on what talk shows should be. Kelly's eyes flashed. Lucky? You think I got lucky? Okay, she said quietly. Okay, now we're getting to the truth, Kelly. Sit down, Jimmy said, but his voice wavered. No, Kelly said firmly. I'm not going to sit here and let you rewrite my story. You want to talk about luck? Let's talk about it. I won American Idol when I was 20. I built a career from nothing. I've sold millions of albums, won multiple Grammys, and yes, I got my own talk show. Not because of luck, Jimmy, because I worked for it, because I earned it, because when they offered it to me, I was ready. I didn't mean it like that, Jimmy said. But he was losing ground. Yes, you did, Kelly said. You meant exactly that. And you know what? I get it. Your ratings have been slipping. The industry is changing. Younger hosts are coming up. Streaming is eating away at traditional television. And my show is doing well, really well. And that scares you because if someone like me can succeed, if daytime can compete with late night, then what does that say about the precious legacy you keep talking about? My ratings are fine, Jimmy said defensively. Are they? Kelly asked. Because from what I've read, they've been declining for months, and my show keeps growing. And maybe that's what this is really about. Not daytime versus late night, not tradition versus innovation. Just you versus me. And you can't handle that? I'm winning. This isn't a competition, Jimmy snapped. You made it one, Kelly shot back. The second you started talking about lanes and formats and what really matters, you drew the line. I'm just standing on my side of it. Jimmy stood up now too, facing her across the desk. You don't know what it's like to carry a show like this. The pressure, the expectations every single night. I have to be on. I have to make people laugh, make them forget their problems. That's the job. And it's exhausting. So, excuse me if I take pride in what I do and the tradition I'm a part of. I do know what it's like, Kelly said. I do it every single day, and I don't use tradition as an excuse to look down on other people. I don't need to diminish someone else's work to feel good about my own. That's the difference between us, Jimmy. I lift people up. You just lifted yourself up by pushing me down. That's not fair, Jimmy protested. Neither is what you said to me, Kelly countered. Casual, light, for what it is. Those were your words. Own them. Jimmy ran his hand through his hair, clearly rattled. The audience was completely silent now, transfixed by the confrontation. This was no longer just an argument. It was a reckoning. "Look," Jimmy said, trying to regain control. "I think we both need to take a breath here." This got out of hand. "No, this got real," Kelly said. "Maybe for the first time on this show. No games, no bits, no fake laughing at jokes that aren't funny. Just a people being honest with each other." "Fake laughing," Jimmy repeated, his face reddening. "Is that what you think I do?" "I think you do whatever it takes to avoid conflict," Kelly said. "I think you've built your entire brand on being likable and non-threatening and safe. And that works until it doesn't. Until someone calls you out. Until you have to actually defend your position instead of just smiling and nodding." "You don't know anything about me," Jimmy said, his voice rising. "I know what I see," Kelly responded. "I see someone who started this conversation trying to put me in my place. And now that I'm fighting back, you can't handle it. You want me to back down, to laugh it off, to make this easy for you. But I'm not going to do that because this matters. What you said matters. How you see me and my work matters." "Why?" Jimmy asked. "Why does my opinion matter so much to you?" "Because you have a platform," Kelly said. "Because millions of people watch this show. Because when you diminish what I do, you're not just talking about me. You're talking about every woman in this industry who's been told her work isn't serious enough, isn't important enough, isn't real enough. You're perpetuating the same old garbage that keeps people in boxes. Now you're making this about gender," Jimmy said incredulously. "I'm making this about respect," Kelly said. "Something you clearly don't have for me." Jimmy shook his head. "This is insane. I invited you on my show. I was trying to have a nice conversation." "You were trying to assert dominance," Kelly corrected. "And I'm not interested in playing that game. So either we can have a real conversation as equals, or I can walk off this stage right now. Your choice." The audience was on the edge of their seats. Some people were filming on their phones, even though it was against the rules. The producers in the booth were probably losing their minds. But none of that mattered in this moment. It was just Jimmy and Kelly locked in a battle neither had expected. "You're really going to walk out?" Jimmy asked. "If I have to," Kelly said. "I've walked away from bigger things than this." "Like what?" Jimmy challenged. "Like people who don't value me," Kelly said simply. "Like situations where I'm not respected, like conversations that are designed to make me feel small. I don't need this, Jimmy. Asterisk. I don't need your show or your approval. I came here as a courtesy, as a friend. But if you're going to treat me like this, then I'm done." Jimmy stared at her, and for the first time, something in his expression cracked. Not anger, but something deeper, something vulnerable. "I'm not trying to make you feel small," he said quietly. "Then what are you trying to do?" Kelly asked, her voice softening slightly. Jimmy looked down at his desk, at his note cards, at anything but her. "I don't know," he admitted. "I honestly don't know." The admission hung between them, fragile and raw. The audience seemed to collectively hold its breath. This was the moment where everything could shift, where the conversation could either spiral further into conflict or find some kind of resolution. But before either of them could speak again, Jimmy looked up at Kelly with an expression she hadn't seen before. "Maybe you're right," Jimmy said slowly. "Maybe I am threatened. Maybe I did start this conversation because I needed to feel like I was still on top, like my show still mattered in the way it used to." Kelly watched him carefully, not interrupting. "But that doesn't excuse what I said," Jimmy continued. "And it doesn't make it right. I was dismissive. I was condescending. And I'm sorry." The apology landed in the room like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples through the audience. Kelly remained standing, processing his words. But the tension that had been building for the past several minutes hadn't fully dissipated. There was still more that needed to be said, more that needed to be resolved. And both of them knew it. Kelly studied Jimmy's face, searching for sincerity. The apology was there, but she could sense there was something else beneath it, something unresolved. "Thank you for apologizing," Kelly said carefully. "But I need to know something. Do you actually believe what you said? Or are you just sorry you said it out loud?" Jimmy flinched. "What's the difference?" "Everything," Kelly said. "One means you regret your words. The other means you regret your thinking. And I need to know which one this is." Jimmy sat back down in his chair, suddenly looking exhausted. "I don't know how to answer that," Kelly urged, sitting back down as well, but keeping her posture guarded. "I've been doing this job for so long," Jimmy began, speaking more slowly now, more deliberately. "And when I started, there were rules and written rules about what made a show legitimate, what made a host credible. Late night was the pinnacle. It was where you proved yourself. And I worked so hard to get here, to earn this chair, to live up to everyone who came before me." "I understand that," Kelly said. "But that doesn't answer my question." "I'm getting there," Jimmy said. "The thing is, those rules are changing. The whole landscape is different now. And maybe part of me does think that what I do is more important, more valid, because that's what I was taught. That's what I believed my entire career. But another part of me knows that's not true anymore, that the world has moved on, and I haven't." The audience was completely absorbed. This level of honesty, this vulnerability, was something no one had expected to see. "So, you do think you're better than me," Kelly said. But there was less anger in her voice now, more sadness. "I think I want to believe I'm better than you," Jimmy said. "Because if I'm not, if we're equals, then what have I been doing all this time? What was the point of all the sacrifice, all the work, if someone can just come along and be just as successful, just as loved, without following the same path I did?" Kelly nodded slowly. "That's honest, at least." "It's also pathetic," Jimmy said with a bitter laugh. "Listening to myself say it out loud, I sound like a dinosaur, like someone clinging to a world that doesn't exist anymore." "You're not a dinosaur," Kelly said. "You're just human. We all want to believe that our struggles meant something, that the path we took was the right one,